this is a bit more in your field, but I think a last will and testament, not to scare anybody, but a last will and testament is so important because this has shown us how uncertain times can be. We've heard of prime ministers being positive with this, and the prince, etc., and Tom Hanks. So you know what? This could just happen to anybody. In
100%.
South Africa, I think we're hearing a few of the responses where I don't know where I got it from. So, you know, some can trace it, some just don't know. And that's how serious this is. It's very contagious. Never mind the coronavirus, just to step back, anything could happen to anybody at any time. You know, this is a very high crime rate country, and, you know, something could happen. And, you know, maybe you could tell us a bit about what a nightmare it is when a person passes away interstate.
Oh, Geshy, I've spoken about this a number of times, but let me tell you, and I've said this, I think, on numerous platforms, even when I think I was on a radio not so long ago, and we spoke about estate planning, not just the last will and testament, but there's so many options available. There's trusts, there's so many, you know, there's so much available at our fingertips, especially in this day and age where, you know, we have attorneys that, I mean, there's an attorney at every doorstep, really. There's no excuse. There's the financial advisors. There's so much available to us. For people to just sit and say, I'm not going to have a will in place, or I'm not going to place things into a trust, I feel that's really irresponsible. And the nightmare, it's really, and I'm not saying this lightly, the nightmare of dealing with that after death, it actually lands up on your heir's doorstep. And sometimes, like you and I have very young children, you know, and I've said this from day one. I've said I promote family trusts. It's one of my biggest things that I promote. Every single person should have, I feel, should have a family trust. There's so much of benefits to it. And I walk the walk because, like I said, I have very young children. And, you know, I lost my dad when I was very young as well. So I understand firsthand, you know, the repercussions. Nobody prepares for death. Nobody expects it to happen. But it comes, and that's the point of it. It comes when we least expect it. And the aftermath of dealing with that is sometimes, I mean, God forbid something should happen to me at this age. Yes, I do have my husband, but it's going to be him. And as you know, with death, there's so much of emotions attached to it. And not everybody knows their rights. Not everybody knows the process. So on top of all the emotions, you're now going to ask the people left behind, your loved ones, your spouse, your children. You're going to now be asking them to scurry around to try to figure out what to do with your estate. So a will, you know, things like a trust, those, for me, that's my my number one item that I have to, my clients know, even if you come in and you're discussing business matters with me, I will encourage you to please get a will in place, and please do some form of estate planning. It's so crucial, so crucial.
I mean, in the worst case scenario, and I think everybody's scared of this, what if we had to get the virus and what if we had to succumb to it? That is a fear in everybody's mind. And as you said, you know, you've got to have some sort of estate planning, etc. In your will has to be properly aligned to a plan. It has to be practical. You've got to ask yourself questions. So hopefully many of the listeners will not be affected by the COVID-19 virus itself, but this is still an opportunity to ask yourself, should something happen to me, are my debts going to be settled, number one? Will my dependents' needs be catered for? Because you still have a spouse and children who have income needs, you know, will that be settled for? And are my needs and wishes that I expressed in my will tax efficient and practical? Because sometimes people do their own wills, or they get advice from maybe just a bank consultant who isn't qualified or isn't able to give a level of advice. And you know, we hear people saying, oh, don't go to the lawyer, they take forever. Don't go to the bank, they take forever. Don't go to a financial planner. You know, Ayesha, 9 out of 10 times, it's a poorly structured will. It's not where you had it, it's how well or not well it's been structured. So this is
100%. Geshy, even you've touched on such a real topic, and I keep telling people this. People think that, your attorney or your financial advisor, oh, it's all about the money. But really, the reason you go to these kinds of specialists is so that we can properly tell you, look, currently as it stands, your estate is worth 10 million, for example. If you don't plan your will properly or do your estate planning properly now, all right, depending whether it's a cash solvent or cash insolvent estate, your heirs could be in for massive estate duties, and that's something I think people don't realize, that if you don't plan properly now, all of the stuff that you've accumulated, all of these assets, and in your mind you feel, oh, my family is very secure now, everything is very great, but you've taken the wrong advice, and it's going to actually leave your family probably in a deficit, a cash deficit, where certain assets would have to, might need to get sold in order to settle the estate duties and the liabilities of the estate. So it's a massive concern, and I really like the fact that you're looking at it from that avenue, where COVID-19, we pray that it's not going to affect, as many as it has, for example, in the USA or in Italy. But the reality of it is we just don't know.